Thank you, Delia. The webinar will be recorded, so the information that we share today will be available at a later date as well. I will start with a short introduction regarding the partners present here today, and then I'll give the floor to Tor, who is from SINTEF, the Change2TWIN Consortium Coordinator. And we also have here today Oliver, also from SINTEF, Francesca from TT Tech, our technical partner in Change2TWIN, and Julie from Image Réseau, another partner that assists in the assessment voucher execution and also the deployment voucher. So we are going to go through the presentation of Change2TWIN and the deployment voucher available for your applications at present, and take questions that you may have at the end of the presentations. Tor, if you can share your screen and say a few words about Change2TWIN, I'll then jump just right to the open call. Thank you.
See if I manage to share the screen. Now you probably see my screen and the presentation.
No,
so
we don't see
to
it.
Be short. You don't.
We
see
don't
it?
see the
Let's
presentation yet, Tor.
Let's see which. Share now. Let's see. Share. Okay, I have to choose the right screen.
Okay, I think you're starting now.
Yeah. I'm not so familiar with Zoom. So I'm the coordinator of Change2TWIN. I might even show you my face. So I usually try to give a short introduction to Change2TWIN, but probably you know a lot of this as you already looked at the website. So we started back in 2020, and we will continue until the end of next year to allow you to have a decent time for executing the deployment experiments. So we want to make digital twin technology available for every manufacturing SME in Europe. And by doing this, by having a network, the marketplace, all of these things. And then as part of Change2TWIN, we have the open calls, but we also hope that we have a sustainable, good network and marketplace that will live well after the project. So when we started out back in 2019 to draft the proposal, we had a discussion, Francesca and I, about what is a digital twin. We looked at at the net in Wikipedia all around, and a lot of the definitions were very, very application area specific. So we tried to somehow make it more general. So it's a digital replica of an artifact that might be a product, machine, process, service, which is so accurate that it can be used as a basis for taking decision. And very, very often the digital replica and the real world is connected by streams of data. So but Change2TWIN is then limited to such artifacts related to manufacturing and focusing on the needs of SMEs. So what we actually address here today is the funding scheme. We have had 2 launches of digital twin maturity assessment vouchers, and I expect some of those listening in today were part of the first assessment voucher round. Some are probably part of the second round that we just launched the experiments now in January, and they should complete in March, so they have a chance to apply for the deployment vouchers. That is the somehow big money, and originally it was planned to fund up to 21 of these digital twin vouchers deployment, but we will probably fund, we had 11 now ending, and we will maybe up to 16 more. Some has got other funding from from I4MS and SIA that so they can't get the full 90,000 voucher. But there was one deployment experiment in the first round that just they wanted, even though they just got 18,000 euro, they wanted to run it. So it depends on how much money can actually be given to each experiment based on the rules, how many we can fund. So the applicant will be the manufacturing SMEs, but we'll come back to that. And they will use technology providers, and they can also have DIHs involved. So I already mentioned most of this, but we want to build this sustainable community where we want you all to be part, and that will be competence centers with technology providers, end users or manufacturing SMEs and mid-caps. So what is important for the manufacturing SMEs? Some of you have or are running this assessment with the Digital Twin Digital Innovation Hub, but now you have the chance to get the digital deployment voucher, so you can make a digital twin, test it out, experiment and optimize it, and also that you get the funding to do this. Then technology providers will be in some way involved in your digital twin, since it might be technology from the CHANGE2TWIN marketplace, or it might be technology providers that you bring in. But we want that the technology providers that you bring in also to be visible on our marketplace. And the SME, our mid-cap that gets the funding, can then engage the technology provider also to help them working and to make the twin and test it. Digital innovation hubs, we have trained 54, and they are somehow into our official network. And you might also get assistance from them, use some of the funding to bring them into your process. We have certified these 54 innovation hubs, but that is not so important now. But you see that we got a good spread of digital innovation hubs over Europe that can help you. Somehow at the start of CHANGE2TWIN, we had also 4 pilot experiments just to somehow make a proof of concept and somehow illustrate how wide digital twins can be. So we had one in packaging industry, we had one in paint manufacturing, one in additive manufacturing, and one in biomedical manufacturing. You can find much more information on our webpage about this. Then, okay, you see the CHANGE2TWIN consortium. The 10 first partners are some of the core partners, and 11 to 18 are the partners that were part of the pilot experiment. Some will still be active, some have completed their work. So I end here. Let's see if I can release the screen. Let's see.
Okay, thank you, Tor. So now that we have, if you can stop sharing, I'll share my presentation.
Let's see if I manage to make this big again. Let's see, not that's there. Let's see where it's stop sharing, maybe here. Chat request. I managed to make the window very small, so I...
Oh, you don't see the button.
Yeah, let's see if I see it. I go in here. Yeah, here. Now I got it. Now it stopped sharing up here. Yeah. Now I could get it.
Perfect. So I'll jump into my presentation because we already have a quite in-depth introduction on CHANGE2TWIN. And let's just talk about the second open call that we are running now for the deployment voucher. This has started on the 16th of January, and we are receiving up to we are looking up to 16 beneficiaries. Just for your information, in the first open call, we received about 60 applications and we had 11 winners. So the numbers look pretty good and the chances are pretty high for applicants to get this funding if they pay attention to the instructions and the documents that we support you in the application process. So the beneficiaries will get, as Tor mentioned, up to 90,000 euro, which is a lump sum. This means that you do not have to justify the expenses that you employ with the accountancy or financial documents. You'll just be paid against deliverables that are being set at the beginning of the program in an individual mentoring plan. So once you have achieved the KPIs, the objectives that you together with the mentor, because along with the 90,000 euros, you are going to receive technical mentorship from the project consortium, and they are going to support you throughout the 11-month support program in each phase of the implementation, from user requirements to design specification. So when you first meet and work on the individual mentoring plan, you are going to set objectives and KPIs that you are most comfortable with and you agree with or you agree on with the mentor. So once you have achieved those KPI, you are going to receive the tranches of payment. There are 2 tranches of payment, one after the approval of the individual mentoring plan and one at the end of the 11 months support program when the final deliverable is approved and validated. So again, no financial hustle here, no keeping the invoices and sending them to us in order to get a payment. We are looking for this deployment voucher open call. We are looking for end user manufacturing SMEs and mid-caps. This is a call for individual applications from just these categories of applicants, manufacturing SMEs and mid-caps. They have to be located in the member states of the European Union and its overseas countries and territories, as well as in the associated countries to Horizon 2020 and the United Kingdom. My mistake, I forgot to mention it here, but we still accept applications from the United Kingdom. Companies applying to this open call will ideally have already a digitalization level of 3. In the guide for applicants, you are going to see a link where you can do your own assessment of the digitalization level. And then you'd have to justify why you chose that digitalization level. The idea is that applications with a minimum level of 2 are also accepted in this open call. So this level 2 of digitalization means basically that you have digital systems in your business, in your company, and they are largely connected to each other and exchange data to provide business application and software with relevant information. If I'm not mistaken, it would be something like an ERP, and that is considered a minimum level 2 of digitalization. So for an ideal use case, now that we have the experience of the previous open call and the beneficiaries who are just ending the first deployment voucher program, we can tell you that we are aiming, and this is the goal that you must have and transmit in your application, to develop a digital twin for your manufacturing business and implement the respective technologies and systems. So the funding is available for the implementation of digital twin technologies in end user manufacturing SMEs and mid-caps, not in technology providers, even though, as Tor mentioned, technology providers are also involved as a second or a third party in this call, because they are the ones that could provide the digital twinning necessary for the SME. So the digital twin should be used for one or more of the purposes listed in the guide for applicants. You'll see there that it can be used for virtual design, for commercial purposes. And it is important that your application clearly shows that it will increase the digital maturity of the end user, lead to proven business benefits for the SME by using the digital twin technologies, and eventually they may be able to provide lessons learned that we can share with the manufacturing community. As Tor said, digital twinning is pretty new concept, and we are trying to make this not only the financing available, but also disseminate the information regarding digital twins and their benefits in the manufacturing business. So as mentioned, you would have until the 16th of April at 5 o'clock, Brussels time, to submit the application. You can go into the application form, add contributors if more than one person in your company is working on it. And you will have to fill in the information and hit submit before the 16th of April. You can submit and make changes after you submit, as long as you do that before the deadline. So once we have received your applications, we are going to perform this eligibility check, where we make sure that you comply with the eligibility criteria. I'm going to detail them a bit later. And then those applications passing the eligibility check will go to the external evaluation phase. And the shortlisted one, those scoring above the threshold, will be discussed in a consensus meeting among the partners of Change2Twin, which constitute the management board. At all times, you are going to be communicated the results of the evaluation, and those that have been shortlisted by the management board will be asked for a legal check. This is when we are verifying your SME status and compliance with the criteria of eligibility. And we are going to ask for some documents in order to check that, but only for those shortlisted. So no hassle in the application process to submit information or documentation in order for you to present your application. The selected one will sign the sub-grant agreement and will engage in the support program of 11 months. So I was talking about the eligibility check. That's when we are doing a very brief, not in-depth check of the manufacturing SME status based on your own declaration. We are checking the eligibility of the country, the level of digitalization. Please pay attention to the fact that it is very important that the proposal is in English in all mandatory sections. And there is one condition here, because Change2Twin is part of the I4MS initiative. And this means that if you have received money under another project under the I4MS umbrella, you cannot accumulate more than 100,000 euros in all the funding under I4MS or SCIA projects. So you will have in the application form a box where you can check that. And we are going to verify double funding and not exceeding this ceiling of 100,000 euros. We are also going to check absence of conflict of interest. That is, you are in no way related or have any connection to any of the consortium partners. In the external evaluation, the independent evaluators are going to look at the excellence criterion, and you will have to address questions like, why are you applying to this open call? Why do you want to implement the digital twin? What is the impact in your business operation? And which purpose for digital twinning offers more advantages to your business? All these criteria are going to be reflected in questions in the application form. So, for example, for the innovation, we are asking which systems or services need to become smart and why for your business, and do you aim at autonomous behavior or at supporting human operators or users? As mentioned in Dor's presentation, no previous experience with digital twinning is required. So basically, you'd have to understand what you would like to obtain from a digital twin. Where are you at the present and where you would like to be, in your own words. So another evaluation criterion is impact, and here we are, the evaluators are going to look at the market opportunity and the business impact. If you are aiming to improve existing products or services, or are looking at new market opportunities. The last criterion will be implementation, and this is where we are looking at the team that you are involving in the process, not only at the application stage, but also in case you are selected at the execution stage. So previous experience in digitalization projects can be an asset, and the skills and experience of the team. It is very important, in addition to the skills and experience, the availability of the team in case you are selected for deployment voucher second open call. It is very important for you to, I'm sorry, to keep in mind that the digital twin must be important for the company. It's not just a nice to have, a thought, let's see where this is going. It has to produce an impact in your business, and it should have a significant competitive advantage. So make sure that in your application, you reflect the impacts the digital twin is expected to have in your business and your competitiveness, because the goal, after all, is to give you an extra push and to help you better position yourself on the market and see more results, more benefits. The application form is available. Maybe Delia, you can share it in the chat. Is available on a specific microsite, and here you'll have to create an account if you haven't done that already. We do encourage applicants from the first and second assessment voucher to, if they haven't already applied in the first deployment voucher, to present an application with the second deployment voucher call, and to try to implement one of the recipes that they may have gotten in the assessment voucher call. So you create an account and you start filling in the new application. As mentioned, you can go back to it as many times as you want. In the basic information, you just be able to fill in information about your companies, and you'll have to go to all these fields here to fill in all the sections. All of them are mandatory. When it comes to the information to the project, you would have to give the project an acronym, a title. You can always go back to the guide and frequently asked questions. Make sure every time you fill in some details, you save and continue. You have here a question. I was talking about the eligibility check, and here it's the part where we trust you and we take you further in the evaluation funnel. So you can you have to answer, and this is your self-declaration, that you are an SME or a mid-cap in the manufacturing sector. And by answering no, your application will be considered ineligible. Then you'll have to specify your sector, and this is because we grant an extra point for these sectors that you can see here: construction, basic metals, textiles, beverages, and food. These sectors are getting an extra score in the external evaluation on the overall scoring of the application. So you'll have to briefly describe why the digitalization level you chose is correct for your company according to the Acatech Industry 4.0 Maturity Index. You'll have the link in the application, in the guide for applicants, and you will understand there which stage is what and where you are at the moment. Again, don't forget to save and continue at the bottom of the page in order to have all the information that you may have filled in here completed. The fields marked with a red asterisk, they are mandatory, so you will not be able to proceed unless you fill in that information. There's also a section where you have to fill in a budget. This is an estimated budget, and this is, as I said, this is a lump sum, up to the 90,000 euros you may get. It's a lump sum. So the budget is just for us to make sure that you correlate the objectives of the project with the resources that you have available. Okay. So please indicate here the total amounts, and you have in the frequently asked questions document, you have very clear instructions on how you to consider the personal cost, which are the ceilings that you have here. When it comes to travel costs and subcontracting, we don't have a top on subcontracting, but we are going to share with you a tip later on, and you may want to consider that when filling in the application form. There's also a section of the declaration of honor where you declare on your own. It's a self-declaration that will help us proceed with the evaluation and communicate the results once we have completed this stage. When you are finished, don't forget to submit. It's very important. You may have filled in all the sections, but if you don't submit, we'll not consider it. If you don't submit before the deadline, we'll not consider it for the evaluation. I know most of us do the same, but ideally it would be not to wait until the last minute to submit your application. It seldom happens that we get most of the submitted application in the last week. So if you find the time between now and the 16th of April, maybe just take it out of your system and do it as soon as possible. So as promised, we are sharing some lessons learned and some tips from the first deployment voucher, and I'm going to engage Tor and Francesca in this discussion as well. Some of the things that we have noticed is that if you can subcontract, of course, the technologies to technology providers. And a very interesting and very important aspect here is that if you choose one of the technologies that we already have available in the marketplace, your application will get another extra point. So even if you don't find your technologies in the marketplace at present, and you have a technology provider in mind, you can suggest them to apply, to register on the marketplace, and then you would get the extra point as well for the technologies being registered there. And we've also noticed that when you are considering a technology provider and subcontracting extensively to one or several providers, may be a risk for you in the execution because you don't have control over their delivery times, and this can put your execution at risk. So weigh in very carefully what services you can do yourself and what needs to be subcontracted in order to ensure a balance and for you to still maintain control over the delivery time. Another important aspect is that when you talk to the technical providers that you may want to get involved in case you are selected, they ensure availability for the technologies and for the team that you intend to get involved if you are selected. In the execution throughout the 11 months program, it is very important that you maintain a very close relationship with the mentor that you are going to be assigned in case you are selected from the CHANGE2TWIN consortium. The mentors are highly qualified people and have your best interest at heart, and they are going to be there all the way in the execution. But in order for them to provide the best service to you, they need to have a contact person on your side. And that contact person needs to be available and should have a good command of English in order for them to be able to interact and work together very efficiently. So in addition to appointing a person, having a good command of English, it is important that your team or the contact person you delegate is available for the mentoring meetings and for delivering the documents requested in order for you to be able to get paid at the end of the program. There's also one other point here, the collection of data, and I'm going to pass the word to Tor and Francesca. Maybe you'd like to elaborate more on that and share other tips that you've noticed from the execution of the previous projects.
Yeah, other experiences here. When you make the proposal, it is wise to have a somehow mirror document on your computer so you can copy in segments, and then you also get the spell checking. I know from another parallel I4MS project, a Norwegian company, where they didn't manage to push the button in time because they had to save and were waiting for some information. And I think they didn't have the mirror document. So they had a really good proposal that never succeeded because they didn't manage to save. And I experienced myself in big EU proposals that the coordinator hadn't somehow tried to submit before, and then in the last minute there is some field not filled in. So as you can submit early and continue to edit, do that just to check that you are on the right track, because there has been proposals that have been part and others in I4MS that didn't succeed because of this. Then also think about use of standards for the digital twin. digital twins are somehow supposed to live for a long time. So you shouldn't be somehow forced to use the same provider. Your data should be possible to export to future systems if you change the supplier at a later stage. Then I'm mostly here in CHANGE2TWIN being involved on the contract side and the payment side. And somehow, if you get the contract, please provide all the financial data and the signatures on this financial identification, so we don't have to ask you for that later. So try to do it as complete as possible. That speeds up all the processes, because it's somehow the latest of the approved proposals that somehow determine the pace of getting starting. So please try to provide information as early as possible. So maybe Francesca, if you got something?
Yes, I just wanted to mention what Anka said at the end. So the collection of data. So we experienced in some of the deployment voucher that we are executing now, that it might be that there is an issue at the end in the collection of data, for example, because the sensor are not available, and then in some cases, there was a postponement of the installation of the sensor for the collection of data, but actually the collection of data is crucial in digital twin to create the digital twin, but also to validate and test the digital twin, which is part of the activity that has to be done in the experiment. And so make sure that you have access to the data from the beginning. So this should be an important point. Yeah, I don't know, Oliver, maybe you also had some experience. To be honest, I'm lucky because in the one I was mentoring they don't have many issue.
Yeah, I would just second your point, Francesca, that it's important to have this in mind really from the beginning. So right at the application stage, I think you need to sort of be thinking about what data will be available, what sort of sensors you will need, how you will get access to the data, because we've experienced in several of the projects that this has been a cause of delays. And since these are only 11-month projects, then a couple of months delay is quite significant. So it's just to keep it in mind from the beginning, I would say.
And also another point related to the technology provider, as Anka said, you will get an extra point if you will use the technology that is in the market, in the CHANGE2TWIN marketplace. But also you can also exploit the technology as technology provider, the core partner of CHANGE2TWIN. And they will be available for you, of course, during the experiment. So if you see that there is a match between what you want to do and some of the technology provider or university or research center in CHANGE2TWIN, I encourage you to make use of them, because for sure they will support you during the project, and actually the budget that they will consume is part of the CHANGE2TWIN budget, so it will not be part of your estimated, no, in the estimated budget, but not in the funding that you will receive. Let's see. I don't know if it was clear, Anka.
Yes, I think all these are really, really useful, because as I mentioned, there is a high probability, if the application form is completed correctly, it is a high probability for them to become one of our beneficiaries in the second deployment voucher. So an overview of what's coming next is really important to be taken into account when they fill in the application. If you'd like to add anything else, Tor, Oliver, Francesca, or maybe we can take some questions if anyone has questions here.
Yeah, take care somehow to look at the budget in a nice way. So if you expect to get 90,000 euro, do the different steps of the process so you get the funding, since this is a 70% funding rate, so your costs are higher than the 90,000. So because some ended up in the first deployment call lower than they somehow expected. And it's impossible for us to somehow give extra when we started, since we allocate all the money we got when we do the allocation or decide who gets funding. So make sure that your claim is what you actually wanted it to be. We can't give more money later.
Yes, this is indeed very important. And when filling in the budget section, the estimated budget, please understand the difference between the funding that you get, which can be up to 90,000 euros, cannot exceed 90,000 euros, but the project, your investment overall, can be higher. There is no co-financing here, but if your investment for deploying a digital twin is higher than 90,000 euros, you are going to get a 90,000 funding, and you may have to put additional money, but there is no co-financing required, okay? No co-funding required. In the chat, I just shared with you the microsite for the application form, where you can submit your application, where you can go and submit your application. We also encourage you to visit the Change2TWIN community in Spaces on the Funding Box platform, because there we have a help desk and we can answer your questions in time whenever you have some doubts on the application process, or you can email us at the Change2TWIN email address, support email address, and we are going to get back to you as soon as possible. More information you can find, in addition to the microsite, on the Change2TWIN website, where you will see some stories of the previous applicants, previous beneficiaries of the deployment voucher. And I was going to share a video with you, but I feel that it could be useful just to share with you the YouTube channel, where you can see the videos yourself of the former applicants of the Change2TWIN first deployment voucher, and you can see their results and how digital twinning has helped their business. I think this is very useful for you, because you can understand a bit better, depending on the type of business that you are running. You can see the applications and benefits of digital twinning on very specific cases, in addition to the pilots that Tor mentioned before. So if you have any other questions at this point, we are more than happy to take your questions now, by raise of hand, or simply unmute your microphone, or send the question in the chat. Okay, anyone else from the panelists would like to add something? So, as mentioned at the beginning, the webinar is being recorded, and we are going to make this information available through our networks as well. And in case of any questions at any time, we in previous calls, for example, we also took one-on-one calls with the potential applicants to answer their specific doubts. So Francesca, Oliver, Tor, myself are available if you would like to send an email and ask for something specific. We can arrange that as well. Don't hesitate. This is the last call for the Change2TWIN, the last opportunity with this project to apply for digital twinning. And if you take a few minutes to watch the videos of previous applicants, I'm sure you will see more benefits than what we have been presenting here today. Okay. Again, thank you very much for your time, and we apologize for the delay in starting the webinar and for the confusion with the link. We hope to see your applications and to talk to you soon as beneficiaries. Have a very good week. Thank you, Tor, Oliver, Francesca, Julie.